Greetings, Shlama, Shalom, or peace. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and welcome to the Ministry of the Real Truth. Tonight I was watching a documentary movie based on a true story about a cult put together in the desert of Mexico, in just outside the USA, or the US, by a man with obvious evil intent, murderous intent, and it started me contemplating the power of these so-called religious cults, or these factions that are masquerading as religious with murderous intent, leading people to their demise. So I began rethinking this. This is an old idea I've had. You've probably seen it in one of my older videos. That I decided to ask the question: what is the real truth? Is it the old, ancient, original manuscript text in the original language, i.e. the sacred scribal old tongue of the Old Testament scribes and prophets, who not only spoke it but wrote it or recorded it all in the ancient Brita, or Genesis in English, using the Lishana Artika Cypraea of the ancient Assyrian Aramaic, or Kitav Asheri or Asheret, as attested, being the original, untampered with, because it was hidden, therefore preserved from the Roman Catholic Church and Islam for over 2,000 years by the original Church of the East, said to have been originally founded by Thomas and Jude, the original disciples, in or around the 1st century AD, who gave the high priest of that church, the original text of what the 12 disciples heard and saw, what Yeshua Mashiach, or Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, both said and did, as witnesses that were there at the time. Again, these were the hidden, preserved original scriptures for over 2,000 years, and have been attested as intact today, as they were given by the hands of the blessed disciples. Okay, I've covered a statement by the then Head Patriarchate of that original church in 1957, Ma Isai Shamun, okay, who was later assassinated, that it was untampered with, that they were as intact as they were given that day by the disciples. Okay. Yes, this fact is attested by a former Head Patriarchate of that original church in 1957, Ma, which means Lord or Master, Isai Shamun, and translators Victor N. Alexander, a native-born Mesopotamian. He's from Bet Nahrein, and he speaks the Aramaic language. He's also, as I mentioned, he's a translator, and also Messianic Jew, or Christian Jew, Andrew Gabriel Roth, and others. But then you have the modern Bible versions, etc., that you have today. The copies of copies of copies of copies, as attested by top theologian Bat Nahrein, or the Americanized versions, Americanized modern versions, which originally stem from translations of the supposed original Hebrew into Greek, then translated into Old German, then Latin by Roman Catholic monks such as Martin Luther and Protestants, Wycliffe, Tyndale, etc. Supposedly corrupted, then distributed out into the world through the American Bible societies and similar, along with their lies. But then again, you have an Italian man, Mauro Berglino, contradicting all of the aforementioned in his particular video. Okay, we're going to go to YouTube and just have a look at it. We're not actually going to play it. Okay. Okay, he is here. Here's an interview. I'm not too sure if this is the one I saw before where she interviews. It's called Sarah White interviews Mauro Berglino. It's got a new title here, a different title here, stating God was a flesh and blood being, the church knows the truth, Vatican translator Mauro Berglino. Because in one of these other videos where he's on a panel, there's a theologian, a Jewish rabbi, I think, and a Roman Catholic priest, right? And the people were like, you know, there, any comments? He actually states that this God couldn't have been a spiritual being, because why would he say to Moses, or whoever he talks about, kill off all the men and the women that have had children, but give me all the oxen? Let's just say, for argument's sake, can't remember the exact number on the video, let's say 20,000 oxen and 12,000 virgins, you kill everybody else. Okay, why would he, a spiritual God, right, a spirit God, want those? What would he use them for? Ultimate sacrifice or what? You know. So he claims, well, back to verification that, you know, he was actually mortal. He was a being. He was flesh. Okay, as it states here, God was a flesh and blood being. Okay, and he's stating the church knows this. He goes up against these, like, he stumps this guy next to him, and then the Jewish rabbi, I think he's a Jewish rabbi, he starts to speak, but then he gets stumped, right? And then this Roman Catholic priest, or whatever he is, starts to mumble and bumble, right, which upsets the crowd. And he goes on like that. Okay, so that's basically that video there. You can watch, you know, your own leisure, your own time. Okay, and then we have Irving Finkel, okay, very humorous, from the Oriental Institute. I believe he's a professional curator, and his knowledge of the ancient cuneiform texts, be they Akkadian, Sumerian or Babylonian. And he's translated, in this video he stated, well, in other videos he stated that he's translated from the Babylonian cuneiform text or cuneiform text, and he found basically a blueprint. It's all mythical, but he found a blueprint for the supposed Noah's Ark, okay, given by a god called Anu to these created beings, because the according to the mythos, the story, humans were making too much noise, or the creations were making too much noise. The gods got all upset and stuff, and they want to wipe them out. Something along those lines. Hit the polar ice caps, you know, which would flood the whole world, the whole planet, and drown them all, and then just bye bye. You know, leave the planet, see it, never come back. But apparently this Anu, one of these pantheons of gods, loved them, so he says to this one boat builder, here's the plans, build a boat or an ark and survive, right, live on, okay. And this is what it supposedly looked like, right, because they rebuilt it from those plans. What did he say in this video towards the end here? A whole lot of Hindus and Muslims along with him, right, decided to recreate this, and it's called a coracle. So the Noah's Ark wasn't like a sushi roll or a sausage roll or even a thin sliced watermelon, right? It's this shaped coracle, and it's still used apparently in Wales and other places. Okay, and these people maybe got on the vodka or something, or gin or whatever it was, sailing down this river, or getting towed down this river because it's pretty leaky or whatever. They had life, we call them lifeguard jackets on, life jackets on, right? And people were saying, "Oh, look, it's a Noah's Ark." You know, you only go, "No, it's not Noah's Ark." How rude of you, you know, like it wasn't Noah's Ark. Okay, yeah, because Noah's Ark's a different story. It's an adaptation, right? An adoption and adaptation's been changed in the details, right? The shape and everything. Yeah, different claims. Okay, so he raves on about it here. Okay. Okay, so you've got Mauro Baglino and his claim that when he translated as a paid Italian translator of the Masorete text, right, an expert in the Hebrew, perhaps the Aramaic and the Greek, he found that underneath all those stories that we know, those common stories, this Masorete text, it was a different story, right, which is related to the Sitchin story, you know, the old mythos of the gods coming to Earth, and using the Neanderthal man as a project because they needed to get the gold to restore the ozone layer or aura around the planet, or else it would completely die, etc., etc. Again, according to those mythos, those ancient Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian cuneiform tablet texts, right? Okay. And then you have that guy, as I mentioned, Irving Finkel, so you can go have a look at those. But there's also another problem here. You have others saying, oh, the original Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls, etc., etc. Then you have the modern, Americanized, modern Bible versions that are put out, distributed out there in the world, like the Good News Bible, the Living Bible, New International Version, RSV, etc., etc., right, which are basically a copy of copies of copies of copies of copies of copies, according to top theologian Bat Nahrein. Okay, they're not of the original manuscripts. I think he's actually talking about the Greek, saying that, you know, the fragments about the size of a mobile SIM card, they don't have the original Greek, you know, in full manuscripts, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, versus the supposed original Aramaic, given to the original church founded by Thomas in around about the 1st century in Urhai, and then he went to India, something like that. But as witnesses, they obviously heard what Christ said and saw what he did, so they recorded it in their language, Galilean Aramaic, right? And then Jerusalem gets destroyed, the Church of Jerusalem gets destroyed, so they run across lands, go across China, probably to India, where he forms another church, right? And he goes on to form about another 7 or 8 before he's martyred in India. And he gives these manuscripts, or these texts, to these selected high priests of that church, right? Who then hide from the Roman Catholic Church and Islam, right? Hide it, therefore preserve it for 2,000 years, as attested by the then the Head Patriarchate, which means Lord or Master, Isai Shamun, 1957, later assassinated around about 1975 for whatever reason. That there is intact as the day they were given by the blessed hands of the apostles, whatever statement he said. Okay, which has been taken down from Andrew Gabriel Roth's website, thearamacscriptures.com, but I did a video on it where you can actually see that statement made by Ma Isai Shimon, the head patriarch, within that ebook, attesting that it was intact. Right, 2,000 years later, it's still intact as the day it was given. Had it been tampered with, right? Okay. So yeah, there's quite a controversy there then, right? And here's a bit of information from Victor N. Alexander, the native-born Mesopotamian translator, okay, filmmaker from Bet Nahrein. Okay, he's saying about Iraq. He's talking about atheism. Okay, he basically states here on his website that was downed, but I resurrected it, revived it. I didn't put it up because it's copyrighted to him and he hasn't given me permission yet to do that. I'd pay for it, everything like that, but he just hasn't got back to me on that. Last line of defense against atheism. It was amazing how the Muslims gained acceptance in America within 7 years of Obama got elected as president. They moved into New York City and Washington DC, promoted Obama and established their influence. Black Christians leaders such as Jeremiah Wright promoted Obama. Television star Oprah Winfrey campaigned for him. In Hollywood, movie stars were falling all over themselves to elect him. Why would the good Lord allow Obama to win in an election that saw the defeat of America's greatest politicians and heroes of the past, I guess, up to the present day, whatever, present time? It makes no sense until one recognizes the left and collapsed at the first. I have glasses here. Okay, let's see a look at that again. Okay, it states here, it makes no sense until one recognizes the total collapse of American Christianity as if it were a rotten tree that had no living roots left and collapsed at the first hard rainfall. A rotten and corrupt form of Christianity that had grown over the centuries under the excuse of religious freedom for all religions. American Christianity was rotten from the first day that they shut the door in the face of the black Americans who tried to enter into their churches. Jesus said to the Pharisees and scribes, you stand in the gate of the temple, you don't enter yourself and you don't allow anyone else to enter. American Christianity was built on hypocrisy. The word hypocrisy was invented to express the corrupt nature of the American Christianity. It did not only keep out the blacks, no strangers from other cultures were allowed into American churches, supposedly. American religious freedom reached such an outrageous stage that nothing was sacred anymore. American atheists and agnostics blasphemed in the name of God just to show their contempt for the Creator. Nothing stopped them. They were on a roll and were about to make a mockery of all the generations of Americans that had grown up Christian. However, the blasphemers have met their match. Nobody dares open their mouth against God and His prophet Muhammad now, and not only in America but throughout the world. Nobody anywhere can depict God or His messenger through any images of artistic representations. Thus God cannot be mocked anymore by American movies or the internet or anywhere else. Okay, just going on about Islam there. It may be difficult to live under Islam, but this is something they definitely have done for the preservation of genuine Christianity as well. It may not be their intention, but that's the effect. The creator of the universe is supreme and His will is done. And he wrote that January 10th, 2011. It goes on about fascist Christianity. It is a well-hidden fact that the American churches do not recognize the ancient church of the East, and they do not recognize the ancient Aramaic scriptures as being the oldest and only authentic scriptures. Only after Obama became President of the United States and exposed the fact that the US were never a Christian country, that this well hidden fact became clear. Yeah, you can read more now if you found that where I revived it from. Okay. Goes on about the Iraqi Christians, chapping of ritual, and other information, which is the evil empire now. In many, it may seem like an exile, but it is necessary for the descendants of the Asherite to move out into the free world and commence their mission of spreading the true faith in his name, Yahushua Mashiach. They killed 58 Chaldean Christians in Iraq in one day. Foreign terrorists from outside Iraq blowing themselves up inside of a church during Sunday Mass, and Christians in North Iraq, the Iraq that Obama and evil Democrats abandoned. But all this is martyrdom that happens every time there is tribulation for the children of Joshua, or Jesus Christ. You have to be willing to leave at a moment's notice, and he's saying get out of Iraq and then carry on, right? Okay, in safety to achieve that mission. Restoring the apostolic orthodox, apostolic faith. Sorry. Because they've been persecuted for hundreds and hundreds, or centuries and centuries. So I've read the Assyrians, which is not fair. Okay, so so I come to that pondering, which one is the truth? I believe my truths because I believe, what I believe because of personal experience, study, and research, etc. But it's a fact. We believe what we are told, unsold, often being told we must believe it because I or we as a collective believe it to be 100% true, or that we as individuals believe it to be true. So you must also. We dictate that you must believe it, right? That's how some people are. Sometimes there is a or else added, okay, in these other religions. If you leave, you're dead, right? Etc. etc. We also believe what we read to be 100% true in the same manner, okay? Because we've been told, we've been unsold, we've been convinced, right, to believe it or else. Okay? And then the threats come: excommunication, loss of family, lack, etc. etc. Or a so-called expert say so it must be true. This can also be recognized in a lot of cases as indoctrination, enculturation, etc., which usually begins at a very early age, 0 to 7, perhaps continues into adulthood. Then others may call this brainwashing. So we at the Ministry of the Real Truth suggest you subscribe to our channel right now, subscribe below, set that notification bell to receive notice of any new videos that we post up, so you never miss out on the facts, the evidence, and the hype or BS free 100% real truth. Okay. Then give us a like, add your comment, help us to obtain 10,000 subscribers. Then go tell all your friends, family, religious friends about us, the Ministry of the Real Truth, who, like Victor N. Alexander, really want to restore the original apostolic faith of the disciples, of the Christ and of the disciples, and of the ancient original church founded by Thomas. And we also, basically our ministry was put together to expose all the false claims, facts, the lies, and corruption, the means of control, etc., etc., and bring people the real truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like, add your comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, as soon as we can. And because we like your comments, yeah, some of them are very have a lot of insight. Yeah, and again, don't forget to set that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our great videos. And then go give us a like, and then go tell all your religious friends, family, friends, neighbours about the ministry of the real truth, and that the real truth that they're bringing you and you and you and you.